Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and every week I say join me again next time for something completely different, and this time I'm fulfilling that promise in spades, because this is, especially if you live in the UK, completely different from anything you've seen before, because as far as we know it's the only one in the country. This is a 1963 DKW 1000 SP, although it is badged an auto union because they changed the name later on. Let's take a look around this thing. Now, they actually built this thing for 7 years, from 1958 until 1965, and it is clearly very obviously heavily influenced by the American style, the fins, the chrome. If you look very closely at this, well, not that closely at all in fact, you can see a mid-50s Thunderbird, but in a 1/4 scale. And unlike a lot of cars which have taken the American style and then transformed it and shrunk it into a European counterpart, in this case the proportions actually work. The overhangs, the size of the bonnet, the boot, the height of the windscreen, the angles, everything actually works, and it's a really good looking little car, isn't it? And the bodywork was made by a company called Bauer, who owned Stuttgart, and they are better known in the 1980s for doing the convertible 3 Series BMWs before BMW did their own convertible E30. That was then sent over to Ingolstadt, where DKW assembled the entire car. Now, you'll notice this car is wearing an auto union badge at the front and the Audi rings at the back, and that's because although DKW was his own company, it was part of the Mercedes empire at the time, Daimler-Benz, and they then sold it later on to Volkswagen, and then a related car became the first Audi. Long convoluted story, but yeah, they were also trying to push the thing very upmarket because this was the most expensive car they built. Now, there was also a coupe version of this car, and I think there are a couple of those here in the UK. That was the first one out in 1957. The convertible didn't follow until 1961, so there are quite a few more of the coupes. I think there's about 5,000 or so of those, but there's only 1,640 of these built in the first place, and not that many survivors. Now, underneath this very pretty bodywork, it is surprisingly advanced. It's independent suspension all round, it's got front wheel drive, and from 1963, front wheel disc brakes as well. Well, here under the bonnet, things get even more interesting than the already pretty interesting exterior, because here, right in the very nose of the car, is a 3-cylinder, 2-stroke 981cc engine. They call it a 1 litre, hence the 1000 name. There were smaller and indeed larger versions of this engine used in other models, but this only got the 1 litre version. Now, you'll notice this has got 3 plugs and 3 coils. Being a 2-stroke, there are virtually no moving parts in here at all. About 5 or 7 moving parts, I'm told. In 1961, things got a little more complicated though, because it's got a self-oiling tank for the 2-stroke oil, which otherwise had to be mixed manually up until that point. Now, you'll notice the position of the radiator is a little unusual. Normally that would be here in the nose of the car, but the nose is just so low and so sleek. They've pushed it all the way back here, and this is, although the radiator has moved in front of the car on modern Audis, that engine ahead of the front axle theme is something that they seem to have hung on to right up until virtually to this present day. Now, this has been very nicely restored. It's almost entirely original apart from the washer bottle, which they couldn't find an exact version of, but they are still looking, so it's got a temporary replacement with a more modern looking one. If you're wondering what a 2-stroke 3-cylinder makes at 1 litre, it's 55 horsepower, and that means the 0 to 60 on this time is 22 seconds. That will, though, keep on going all the way to 87 miles an hour, which I can only imagine is terrifying in this little tiny car. And listen to this! Isn't that amazing? It's so quiet and so smooth, but just so different from anything you've ever heard before. Now, with the bonnet closed, you will notice this rather interesting hood scoop as well, which is semi-functional because the radiator is so far back. This does help guide air in there and keep the thing cool. It does not overheat as far as I'm aware from the owner. Interestingly, one incredible thing which I would love to see one day is the V6 version, where they managed to press together 2 of those 3-cylinder engines and make a V6 version with double the capacity, obviously, 1600 cc, give or take. Now, this is a left-hand drive car. DKWs were sold in the UK. I'm not sure if this one was offered in the UK or not, but it's unknown if any right-hand drive ones do exist. So we're climbing in the wrong side today. Now look at this door card. It is proper jukebox cool, chrome, black, red, everything. It's just a fabulous bit of mid-century design. Look at the shape of these little bits of chrome for the door handles and window winders, and the small white globes for the window winder end. Now, being a mid-century car, we can see the fixings and things. This is not uncommon at this time in car construction. And look how the door kind of wraps around thicker at the top to create like a cocoon around the driver. Let's climb in and have a look. Now you notice, because it is front wheel drive, we have got a completely flat floor all the way across front and back, and there is a fairly usable back seat as well. Surprising considering how small the car is. Now these seats are quite low backed, but they are quite wide. There's a lot of elbow room in this car, obviously near limitless headroom. And check out this steering wheel. This is very reminiscent of the Mercedes 190 of the day. The white rim, the plastic, the chrome horn ring, complete with the logo, the dragon logo, which is not one I remember seeing before actually. That is rather interesting. Climbing in, you have to watch your knee on this wraparound windscreen base. This is a common problem of 50s cars, where you can come a cropper on that. The dashboard is actually quite a lot of stuff happening in here, considering it's a fairly basic car for mid-century, but it is a luxury version, so there's a lot of toys. Padded dash top curves over the entire width of the car, curving into the dooring on the side. It's body colour painted, which is all very pretty. A bunch of unmarked switches, but I'm guessing that's the lights and various other bits and pieces, which we'll never know. It's all a mystery lost in the sands of time and the owner's manual. And we've got the speedometer in kilometres per hour, because I believe this came from Holland, this particular vehicle. And then on the right hand side we've got our temperature and fuel gauge, Kraftstoff and Wassertemp. Currently it's just the low end of normal, and this rather cute curved out, bowed out square clock, rather like that. And to the right of that we've got this really rather fun ventilation control, temperature left cold and hot for separate controls apparently, and then F and S for up and down, I imagine, for the fan control, all in this little 3 slotted chrome grille. It's like a Ferrari's gated manual, but for your heating and ventilation. Then we have our interior light here in the centre of the dashboard, next to another unmarked plain white button, and below the rear view mirror, which is just here perched on top of the dash top, and that's ahead of the tiny weeny little loudspeaker. To the right of that though, we've got something quite curious, which a lot of younger viewers will never have seen. I've never seen one, to be honest, either. This is the cigarette lighter, which lifts out, but the hot area faces you at all times. So you push the button to start it, and then when it glows red enough to hurt you, there you have it. And there's a little ashtray just next to it, little slide out chrome fronted ashtray. And in between, look at this beautiful Blaupunk stereo. It's not a stereo, is it? It's a radio. It's only, I'm assuming, only mono from that one speaker. What a lovely bit of design. The chrome strips, the green glow. That's very, very nice indeed. And of course we have a little glove box over here on the right hand side as well. That is a very little glove box, really just for gloves. Now back to the steering wheel. This is a beautiful huge rimmed thing. You sit in the driver's seat, it's virtually touching your legs, and your fist when it's on top of the wheel is at nose height, so it's a big effort. Then we have the control stalks. We have one on the left hand side, one of the indicators on the right, which glow just up here on the dashboard. I don't know if you can see that or not, it's just shining brightly in that little window. And then we have our column shift gear change, which is like a regular column shift on the right hand side of the wheel this time, rather than on the left as they often are on right hand drive cars. This is also kind of upside down, so you clutch down towards you for first, up towards you for second, back to the center, and then away from you for third, and away and up for fourth. And reverse is mysteriously hard to find. There we go, towards you and up all the way to the top. And this is your gear shift here. It is synchro mesh on all but first. And the accelerator down here in this big cavern of a floor area is a foot hinged, a heel hinged one. So you have a fair bit of travel on there, and quite a short spongy travel on the brakes. And finally, the one thing that really does confuse people is this handbrake, which is down here under the dashboard. I know that he said that when the car was being delivered, it has been driven with the handbrake on because people have no idea it's hidden underneath here. Now, the seats are very comfortable. You sink quite away into them. There's no headrest, no seat belts, but they're very wide and quite comfortable. Quite good for a long drive, I would say. Speaking of which, let's take it on the road for a short drive. Right, now normally I would be driving the car, but because of the insurance value of this one, mine won't quite stretch to it today. So the owner, Kevin, is going to be taking me for a little drive and we'll talk us through what it's like to drive this thing. Now, first of all, let's get the exhaust note when we start up, because this is quite unlike anything you've really heard before. Isn't that fun? Isn't that absolutely brilliant? It smokes a little because it's two-stroke. As it gets warmer, it stops, which is nice. So we can now climb in. Of course, there aren't any seat belts in here because it's 1963. So if you talk us through that gear change for us there, so sure, yeah. column shift, manual. So it's towards you and down for first.
Yeah, and then up for second. Down for third, up for fourth.
So it's a typical column shift, but reverse way around. Yeah.
So we'll go this way. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there's not a lot of torque in it, I guess. So you have to do a little bit of a.
It goes when you rev it.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Did you feel the power just coming in then just as I decelerated?
Yeah, so an interesting thing with this car, it's got freewheeling hubs. So as you left off the accelerator, it disconnects from the drivetrain. So you have no engine braking and the car will actually speed up downhill. Clear. It's a mad noise. It really does sound like it's revving hard all the time. Is that speedometer in kilometres per hour, by the way?
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of people thinking we're speeding heartily down this country road.
Oops. Bit of a bump.
So the ride is actually quite soft. It's for a sporty little car. It's a little bit of a wafty ride, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. There's plenty of room as well.
Yeah, that's surprising because for such a small thing, there is a lot of space inside it.
Behind the learner now, so
yeah,
slow down.
Less spirited ride behind the learner. Obviously, headroom is virtually limitless, so we're all good there. Is it quite tight with the hood up?
No, it's got plenty of room actually. The good thing is it's got actually some sort of a rear seat.
Yeah.
Designed for a couple of children. And our dog enjoys there. It's a big standard poodle, he loves that, with his head sticking out. It's really good.
We're now stuck behind a bike, behind a learner.
Yeah.
If we turn around, the other way.
Yeah, I'll take a side road.
Yeah. Is there synchro mesh on it?
Not on first, but on the other gears there are. So we're in second, accelerating. Third, accelerating. You don't really need fourth unless you do more than 30. You see it's still going. So
Okay.
it's a car that you need to accelerate or just coast.
Yeah.
Very unusual to drive.
Yes.
If you're in the wrong gear, like if I try to start up now in second, it takes forever to, I'm in the wrong gear, I should have used first, but I'm just demonstrating.
Yeah.
But now it's getting going.
And it picks up all of a sudden, it surges away.
Yeah, it has almost a power band, really.
Yeah. There's no rev counter, so you can't really identify where that is.
That's right.
It's such an unusual noise.
I love it, absolutely love it, it's great. So we're now starting off in the correct gear.
Oh, no,
first.
so much quicker.
So, yeah.
So why did you want it? Again, you saw one in the museum.
Yeah, I saw one in Ingolstadt, in the Audi Museum. This is actually an Auto Union, pre-Audi, and I just fell in love with it. I've always loved two-strokes anyway, and so my first two-stroke car was actually a 3=6 DKW.
Okay.
Which has a 3-cylinder two-stroke engine like this one, and this is actually from the DKW factory, but it is an auto union, so it's an auto union. It was their highest priced car, obviously a sports car, and I just love driving it. It's just so different.
It really is, isn't it? And the number of looks we've had today has just been out of this world. I've never had, there's very few cars I've been in that have had so many constant looks as we've been around in it.
Yeah, everywhere we park it, we get people taking photos.
Yeah.
And it's actually the only one in the UK, the only convertible in the UK.
Are there any coupes that you know of?
I think there's two. As far as I know, there's two. But two that I know of in the UK. There's one on the road and one undergoing restoration.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very rare car.
Yeah.
But I will put it in fourth now, so you can just see that, you know, I mean, obviously you can drive it in fourth, but it won't accelerate very well in fourth.
No.
Unless you're doing more than about 60 kilometres.
It bogs a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you lift off now on the accelerator, and then we get the freewheeling effect.
Yeah, that's freewheeling. I can change gear now. I'm not using the clutch. Look, you see, that's fourth, that's third. So you can actually get in the correct gear for going around a corner.
Yeah.
To a roundabout or something like that, you know. So
without even using the clutch at all.
Yeah. So that's second. I've just been ready to turn into this road, and now when I accelerate,
it re-engages.
Yeah. Decelerate, and we're coasting again. So.
I hope you've enjoyed looking around this DKW as much as I have. It is tiny but absolutely perfect, like a little automotive Kylie Minogue. Obviously it would have been nice to drive it, but with the value of this thing and the rarity and scarcity of parts, sometimes it's better just to let the owner do the thing and you go for a ride and enjoy that as well. Thanks for watching, and join me again next time when whatever we drive, it really will be completely different to this.